I'm at Glenelg Beach, where I'm going to be trying a little experiment. Our friend from gave us a piece of advice about how their jelly molds work. They use a thing called a starch mogul, which she said was like a shell in sand. We will test out exactly whether that's true.
So we've come down to the beach and we're going to use a shell to make an impression in sand. Normally if you were using a starch mogul, you would have a whole tray of these molds.
And that's jelly. That's how it happens. Problem with making a mold like this is that it doesn't have a great deal of integrity, I think is the point. Let's see if we can turn this into a jelly baby. Hang on, I'll give it some arms. And some legs. No! And then we have a jelly baby. Making friends.
So this sand is a little too firm to make an impression of our toy, so we're going to dig a hole just to give an indication of what we might be doing with the cornstarch.
Check out these pro Psychom squads. So this is how we're going to make our jelly dinosaurs. We're going to, instead of using sand, use cornstarch. Unlike our sand, our cornstarch is going to be dry, but hopefully that'll mean that it comes away from the jelly more easily. We'll make an impression, the sand will come away and leave us with an intact, fully formed dinosaur. Let's see how we go. Ah, jeez. Don't film in ankle deep water. I'm gonna wash my feet. See you back in the kitchen.
On the way home, why not pick up a little bit of cornstarch? Today we're going to be taking impressions of those little guys, as well as some of our dinosaur toys that are a little bit larger.
I've used the very rigorous method of measuring, which is putting the boxes inside the trays. What I'm going to do very quickly is I'm going to get a mask. One of the things that was a problem when people first worked with corn flour, and even for people currently working in factories, is there can be a huge amount of dust that rises in the air, and that can cause some issues with your breathing. So here I am. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing.
So we're just going to fill the tray with cornstarch and try to compress that as much as we can, remembering that the firmer that we can get the impression, the more likely it is that the agar will hold its shape.
Let's start off with these guys. We're going to have to worry a little bit about following the line of the toy. We're going to basically bury one half of it. Let's just push our friend here right in. That looks all right. I don't mind that. What a cool friend we have covered in flour. It should go without saying that I've washed these all ahead of time.
So we've taken an impression of our Brontosaurus, our Triceratops, two Stegosauruses, and a car, more specifically a 1970 Pontiac GTO.
Today I'm working with this agar powder because it is cheap. It says that you should use 25 grams of this, or the whole packet, in 3 kilograms of water. I'm going to be using half as much, or 1.5 kilograms. Helpfully, a kilogram of water is a liter of water. Add some desired sugar. How much sugar do we desire? What do you think? I'm just going to do like a splash into our pot. Let's give this a go. Not bad for a first effort, I will say.
So now we're going to do a second tray with our Apatosaurus friend.
Slightly too large.
And because we can't get the entire thing into the tray, we're going to be taking impressions of different parts of the Apatosaurus body. And we're going to be letting that sit for just over an hour before seeing what we can excavate out of the molds. So here we are, our set agar. Let's put our mask back on. Probably a little bit muffled now, but that's okay. I'm going to put in here, this tray here. We are filming. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. This tray we have here is just an air frying tray that you might use to cook chips in the oven. You can see our little friends here take a little bit of work to get out of the molds. That's not working. Must have soaked into the cornstarch, and part of what I'm working with is just cornstarch. Remember that scalpel we were using from the plaster paint kit? Yeah, that comes in really handy in this video, and in the next one. Spoilers. I haven't focused on them in this video, but eventually we do get them out. I didn't expect this to take as long as it did, but it was weirdly meditative. Wow, look at those spines. You can see right away that this is a bit sturdier because it's a bit thicker. This is probably the closest I'll ever get to an archaeological dig. And fair, what an incredible kind of combination of art and exploration, I guess, paleontology must be. It's actually preserved a little bit of the leathering of the outside of the dinosaur. I don't know if you can see that. So if you look at these markings here, this like weathering here, all of the ridges along the tail. It's broken apart a little, but again, I'm just so impressed by how much detail has been preserved. The one thing that's missing, of course, is the head. The head is curving away, so it's actually cutting off around here as the head turns. So we didn't manage to get that into the mold. And there we have it, a fully formed jelly brontosaurus. Now we have our Apatosaurus, which we made in 3 different segments. Taking our time to excavate this very carefully. Remembering that this is our first test, so we want to take it very carefully and learn as much from it as we can. Oh no, I did one of them as a mold of one side of the body and one of them as a mold of the other side of the body. So I've got the body here, and that's this side that's got flour on it. And then I've got this tail bit, which actually comes from this bit of the tail up this way. But that's okay. Again, all a learning experience. We're trying to figure out as much as we can about the process here. We can see that this actually looks really close to the side of the dinosaur there. It hasn't made a full impression of the whole half of the dinosaur, but it's a really good impression of those legs, of the side of the head. We're just going to cut out a bit of extra agar that we made, just to give an impression of what a full-size version of this might look like, and what it looks like compared to a dinosaur lolly. Not a bad first effort, honestly. We have the tail and the head molded from the back here rather than the front here. If we were doing a full mold, we would take casts of each side, but as you saw when we set them in the first place, they didn't quite fit within the trays. What we do have here as well is we've got some big kind of indents that come from flour dropping into the mold, or in this case, I think some of it fell in before the jelly was actually poured in. If there's a hole that comes from the flat side, that's because flour fell in afterwards. If there's a hole in the curved side, that's because there was flour that fell in after the shape was created. So basically it created the shape, excluding that divot there. We're going to have to think about how we can make it a bit bigger and how we can stop that flour from getting in there. Boy, are we close to making a real full-size jelly dinosaur. And in the meantime, we can conclude this project's got legs. Join us next time for the thrilling conclusion to terrible lizards.
This is very silly. I'm very happy that I did this.